Hi everyone, today I just want to talk about how quitting alcohol is just not like a magic pill and it won't make all your troubles go away. And the reason I wanted to make this video is because I've seen quite a few comments and spoke to a few folk on YouTube just around the subject that even after a few months, maybe 6 months, that everything's not what it seemed or what they expected it to be. And I think there's definitely a misconception out there that quitting alcohol will solve all your issues. And don't get me wrong, it's probably the most incredible thing I've ever done. I originally quit in 2017. I quit for 5 years and then just had the best 5 years of my life, to be honest. Saved loads and invested loads and smashed it at work, got big promotions and got fit and all this stuff. Just all the usual benefits you would expect, and just felt like I had a new lease on life. And then stupidly in 2022 I thought I could end up being this kind of moderate drinker that would go to the pub and have one or two drinks and then kind of, oh hey guys, that's me, home time. And then I would be that kind of guy, going to neighbours' parties and having one or two, and 9 o'clock, right, I'm got the gym tomorrow, I'm away to go home, and then go. But we all know it never works out like that, and still to meet somebody who can kind of do that. And that lasted until July of 2025 this year, and I've kind of been maybe 4 months off it now, maybe 5 months nearly. And when I quit, like I say, it was just so much, there was so many benefits, it was unbelievable. But like I say, there's definitely a misconception about what it will bring you. And I honestly think, if I could put a kind of percentage on it to help people, I think maybe 80-90% of your life just completely changes for the better in the first couple of months. You do have that initial first few weeks where hopefully you've got a real positive boost from it. You've got a different outlook on things now because you're determined to get through this. And the anxiety for me went pretty quickly. Definitely the booze induced anxiety. You're absolutely Peter Panic and you're worrying about everything, even the smallest things in the world. And my appetite slowly came back, and then you do start sleeping a bit better. It's not all singing and dancing in the first week, but I think certainly after the first couple of months done, you feel the sleep's a lot better. You maybe had a few paychecks as well, so you managed to put away a bit of money, and the brain fog's left as well, which is just probably arguably one of the best benefits. It covers a lot of things, but you're just, instead of thinking about the day, you're thinking ahead and kind of thinking about the next 6 months, about the next year, putting plans in place. It really is remarkable. But I think that there's probably, like I say, 80% of just goodness comes your way. And like I say, better sleep, better fitness, more money, less anxiety, just better at work and positive thoughts and getting your energy back and starting to cook your own meals. All these things come into place. But you need to remember that there are things that will take time to not only fix but to maybe heal as well. And the first thing is your relationships. I mean, you might have spent the last X amount of years, maybe even decades, just not being as good a friend as you maybe think you were, maybe not being as good a parent as you could be, a good auntie or uncle or grandparent. And this could have went on for decades. And for the people around you, that's the normal you. Maybe deep inside that you wanted to be, the person that was always there, the shoulder to cry on, the person that they go to, your kids go to, or your nephews and nieces to get their advice. But maybe you've known that inside, but everyone else doesn't. On the outside, they've seen you for who you are and who you were the last time. And just because you stop putting alcohol in your mouth, it's not going to solve all those issues. You need to physically get off your bum and change that. And I think because you've quit drinking alcohol, you have that in you now. You have the drive. You have maybe the money to kind of spend on people you love. And you have the kind of the no brain fog that I spoke about. All these kind of open up for just complete positivity towards like repairing these relationships. And if you're not repairing them, because I was quite lucky, because even when I was out at the weekend, I was just a quintessential British binge drinker. So, I've never really fallen out with people or anything like that. Still like really good relationships with all my parents, but you might have really fallen out with a lot of people. So there's like different categories of it. The people that you maybe had an argument with because of, a booze related thing, but also just the people that you're still kind of friends with and their family. But like I say, you've just not been as present as you maybe should have. So that takes time to fix. And I think with the people I've been speaking to in the comments, that's definitely one of the things that will take time. And, and another thing that takes time as well is finances. You might have spent the last X amount of years building up credit cards, spending all your money, and it has a huge knock-on effect because you don't have money. That's probably why you're not driving a nice car. It's probably why you're not in the apartment or the house that you've always dreamed of. And maybe that could be as easy a fix as that. It's maybe not because, you're this and that and, my luck's against me, etc. If you're spending, a couple of $100 every week, or pounds or euros on food, and it's not only on alcohol, and it's not only that, it's the Ubers, the taxis, the times you can't be bothered cooking, buying other people's drinks. You're not investing any of your money. If you'd invested that money instead, maybe it would be trebled or doubled or quadrupled by now. And all that money wasted could have went to a good use. So when I originally quit in 2017, I remember it luckily I always had good jobs, but I could have saved a lot more. I could have contributed a lot more to my pension, but it'll take a few months for that brain fog to leave and for you actually to put in a really solid plan. And it takes a while because you're not going to solve all your financial woes in a month or maybe even 6 months. But I'm telling you what, after a year, you'll be in a far better position as well. So if you're thinking about the, finances is all over the shop at the moment, it's fine. Put down a plan, speak to your bank, etc. Now you've got that right frame of mind. It will go, but that's another thing, like the friendships that will take time and it will come. And I think the final fix, and maybe I'm missing out a few, and stick it in the comments if I've missed out a few, is time. And I hear the word boredom so much. And one of the reasons why we all think we're bored, because I used to be like that when I was out at the weekends all the time. If I wasn't out, I was always bored. This is boring, I'm bored. I can't be bothered going there, it's boring. And that was it. You just associate alcohol with good times. But when you're doing that, don't, remember what it brought you. It brought you to this situation of watching my video. And I'm sure you're watching this video because you've got an issue and you want to change things. But time is one of those benefits that slowly becomes a negative if you let it be, because instead of spending all this time with, like in the pub and cracking open a beer at night, that goes away because you're not drinking anymore and you're sitting there with all this time in your hands. And it's, to be honest, it's kind of surreal when it first hits, because you're sitting there thinking, as always, I'm bored, but you just have all this time. But that's something that won't fix itself overnight, and you need to make an effort as well. There must be some things that you can do to fill your nights, like stuff you do you love. I mean, I set up this YouTube channel, and it takes time, to research everything in the beginning. If you look at my first 20 videos, 30 videos, they're pretty crap, to be honest. I think, not saying these are going to win an Oscar, but you know what I mean. It's just a lot about lessons learned, like failing and then trying again, taking a lesson learned. And like I fill my time with this, and I fill my time with walking, and I love cooking at home now. And at the weekends, I love going to see my mates. I love going to the cinema, and I love just feeling good, sitting on the couch, And like I say, the time's not going to fill itself, unfortunately. And like I say, there must be some things out there that you love doing, like whether it be like crafts or, something to do with painting or going to the gym, like fitness wise. Maybe there's a side hustle or a business that you've always wanted to set up. You know, maybe at work you've just been treading water the last 10 years, you know. Maybe you're doing accountancy or something, and you've always wanted to become chartered, but you've just never had that will. You know, look into it. You know, maybe that's not a good example of, you know, as an accountant, but you know, like maybe if you're a designer and you've been treading water, or a developer or something like that, or you work in QA or something, operations, and you wanted to take that next level in your career, but you've just not been bothered. Research it. You've got the money now coming in to do it. It's that money that you weren't spending on alcohol. So like I say, those 3 fixes are just, they'll take time, but don't let that put you off. And the last thing I'll say is, we all end up in this position where we're kind of mourning alcohol, and I can feel it through the words that people are commenting, are using on their comments, that it's like the temptation's there to go back. But just remember why you quit. And I always say to people, write down the reasons why you quit drinking alcohol, and write down all the benefits you'll get and are receiving, and just use that. Like every time you're struggling, look at that notepad or look at your notes on your phone and keep reminding yourself, and don't mourn alcohol, because that life in the past, and I've done that before, and it sometimes pops in my head when I think about alcohol. I think about the Friday pint at 5 o'clock. You know, I think about that first pint at the airport when I'm with my mates. But that's what it does, alcohol does. Even after all these months and years you'll be off it, that still pops into your head. But you have to remind yourself of the 99% of crap that comes with it. The horrendous anxiety, like waking up on a Monday morning, you have to go to work and you're dying and you're wondering how you'll even get through the day, never having money, ruining relationships, sending people stupid text messages when you're drunk, you know, just all that crap that comes with it. But you know, like I just wanted to make this video for all those people who, you know, are in that stage. And it's normally a couple of months in, I think, where, like say, you have the time to overthink everything. But you know, there's these things, the relationships, the finances, maybe your health as well is a good one, you know, and time, filling your time. These are things that you have to do, and I don't think anyone's going to do them. And like I say, quitting alcohol, it's one of the best things you'll ever do, but it's not a magic pill. Unfortunately, there are a few things that you have to work on, but believe you me, once you get there, and once you've got everything sorted, you know, it might take 6 months, it might take a year, it might even take a couple of years, but you'll wake up one morning and you would have paid hundreds of millions of pounds or dollars to get this feeling. It's the greatest feeling in the world once you get there, and you will get there. Anyway, thanks for watching. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.